Mine, and I'm super excited today to introduce a special friend of mine, Joanna Norland. Joanna, welcome.
Thank you. Really happy to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you here. So, Joanna and I have known each other, but we reconnected over a mutual friend of ours, Kathleen Vallejos, who published a book. And I said something on Kathleen's post. It was like, wow, have you ever journaled? You know, and she said, oh, do you know Joanna? And so Joanna and I started to engage in this beautiful conversation about writing. And so Joanna, can you share? I don't know the answer to this, but when did you first start writing?
I feel like I've written for as long as I knew how to hold a pencil or what writing was. There just was always this draw to create this alternative universe. And once I learned I could write it down, that was even better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you have a blog now, and you can correct me if that's not what you call it or if it's something different or more, but called Mums Right, correct?
Yes, mumsright.com is a website.
Mumsright.com.
Yep.
And we'll make sure we put that in the comments too. Can you tell us about a little bit about what that is, and then go backwards and tell us what inspired you to create it?
Absolutely. So Mom's Write is there to give you inspiration and tools to write for the kids in your life and about the experience of raising them. So I provide a website and workshops. And on the website, you'll find ideas, uh, tips about the writer's craft, interviews I've done with mothers, writers, just a buffet of materials to get you writing, getting you excited about writing, feeling like you have the way in and to write. I started this many years back. I'm a mother. My kids are 10 and 14. And for that, I've been a writer for as long as I can remember, a playwright, a journalist. And so I seamlessly segued from a writer without children to a writer mother. And I would write, it just was part of parenthood for me. I would write songs for them while pushing them on swings. And I would tell them, make up stories on the fly on demand and write monologues from their point of view to send to my parents to tell them what their grandkids were up to. And so I started Mom's Write because it was so much fun and such a powerful way of getting to know my kids, getting to understand them and connect with them, that I wanted to share it. It was too good to keep to myself.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And so if I'm like, well, I am someone who's not a writer by, you know, trade or training or anything, listening to you, it's like, maybe since you were writing all that time, maybe it's easy for you. Like you write songs for your kids. That sounds awesome. But like, I can't do that. Like, who am I to, how would I even begin to do that? What would you say to someone who said that?
It's, first of all, yes, you can. And you probably do all the time. I mean, we understand our lives through story. We're telling stories all the time. We're playing with language all the time.
All day long.
And I feel like, so the first step is just kind of having a sensitivity to the stories that you're creating and just capture them. And that's actually a big part of my job as a writing coach, is to hear the stories that people are naturally telling, hear the playfulness, hear the ideas, and say, you should really get that down. There's something there. There's something really interesting. What could you do with that? Right. And so that's part of what I do. And then I guess the whole point of the website and the workshops is you sit down and you could write about anything. And that can feel very big and overwhelming. So we'll sit down and say, okay, today we'll actually just look at fairy tales. We'll look at the structure of a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. If your kid was a fairy tale hero or heroine, who would they be?
Nice. Connecting it a mom's own experience, having a child with a story and helping bridge that huge chasm, right?
Absolutely. So it can feel more like a puddle to jump over.
Yes.
Yeah. Or
Awesome.
jump in if you prefer. Yeah.
Or a what?
Or a puddle to jump in if you prefer.
Exactly. To play with, to get wetted, but not like the deep end of the pool. You make it a
Mm,
puddle.
yes.
That is awesome. I love it. I love it. And I don't know if you have a, experience with someone who was initially resistant or had a special resistance, like, I so want to do this, but I don't, I can, and whatever. Um, and what you saw at the end of maybe a workshop or maybe a session.
It, it's really interesting. A few things. I think what I do see a lot of is just this desire to create that people aren't even aware of. So a couple of things I've seen in workshops. One is in introductions where you start talking about what brought you here, why would you want to write? And someone will say, I'm in this very technical field, I work with analyzing statistics, and then start crying, remembering the way she shared stories with her grandmother when she was little, and how much she wants to be able to share that with her own daughter now. And so the workshop and just having that space and then having a commitment to write something for the next session meant that she cleared away that hour at home. And so it was a win-win. Her husband spent some daughter-father time, and she actually started tapping into this family history that she wanted to write into and be able to share. And another was just this very quiet woman in a workshop on fairy tales, no sense of what she was doing. And later that afternoon, she emailed and said, I spent the whole afternoon feeling creative, and this is what I came up with. And her version of Snow White was so funny and sharp and clever, and it's actually up on my website now. And
Fun.
you just realize you cannot predict where people's work is going to go once they start. There is this need to create.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I fall into this too with like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not an artist. I'm not a writer. I'm not. And we spend the time and we invest the mental energy in telling ourselves that we can't, and we keep ourselves trapped. So I love that you have these ways and these doorways to like assist people through so that they see that was really a story that they were telling themselves that's not true.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. There's sort of the I can't lie that people tell themselves. And then there's the backup lie of I don't have the time. And if the first one doesn't work, you've always got a second one in reserve. And actually, what I loved from your podcasts, what really spoke to me was the podcast on morning time and protected morning time. And I actually took a leaf from that as protected time that I now use for my writing. And sometimes what can be really valuable there is having a very short amount of time. There is a pressure in economy that can get you going. And so if you tell yourself that you're going to do this for 2 hours, it's quite possible that you cannot write. If you tell yourself you're going to do this for 10 minutes in the morning as part of your morning practice, your self-care for the day, then that will feel very different. Yes. And it's quite possible that you'll find yourself going back during the day to what you jotted down in the morning.
Yes, because it's calling you, because
writing hunger.
Good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And it takes the pressure off too. Kind of like, okay, it's 10 minutes. I'm not going to write a novella in 10 minutes. I'm not even going to write a chapter in 10 minutes. I'm not going to, what am I going to write? And maybe it's to begin with, maybe it's kind of gibberish and stream of consciousness to get something on the page, right?
I actually, it can be simpler than that. I like telling people to start with mind maps. I'm just flipping through for, if you're writing as a means to observe your children,
Mhm.
start with something like this. This is who my kid is.
Ooh, love that.
And it's playful and it's fun. And it's just this kind of tumble of memories of who is my kid, and it's colorful.
Oh, I love it. Do you have anything on mind maps on mumsright.com right now?
It's I've written I have a blog piece that I can post in the column about in the columns. But this is about this is one of many ways to just start writing about your children.
I love that.
Uh,
I do love
for,
that because it's not even writing, right? It's
mm,
kind of like we're tricking ourselves. Nope, it's doodling and it's diagramming and it's just kind of like drawing. Oh yeah, and then he did this and then he played this sport and then, here are his friends or whatever. It's not the pressure to write. It's almost like, oh, here's just a like here's my kid on a page, and
yes,
then you can use that to create from maybe something different at another time.
absolutely. I'm sure. I mean, there's material here for 10 picture books, but it's all it's just there representing a representation of how you feel in the moment. It's a way to start. A way to start.
I so love that. That is
Yeah.
awesome. I love it. All right. I'm going to we're going to wrap this because we just popped in to have a little fun here with you on a
Thank you.
Friday. But you want to stay on with me because I want to pick your brain about another couple things. And
Absolutely.
I'm just going to wish everybody a happy Friday and a great weekend. And I put in the Mums Right, uh, not the specific page about mind maps, but Joanna's website, and then we'll make sure that we get the page in that goes a little bit deeper on mind maps because I know I definitely want to go there for sure. So
Great. Thank you so much. It's a
thank you.
pleasure to be able to visit on a Friday afternoon.
Absolutely. And you know what? Let's come back to where we are. I don't know if I can get out of Zoom and Facebook separately. So come back to where we are, Joanna. Okay.
So you just want me to resume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Bye, everybody.